Uh, State Representative Jim Townsend is with us. You've been busy all over the state, traveling around.
Got back late last night, and I'll leave as soon as we get off there this morning.
How are things across New Mexico right now?
They're good. There's a lot of candidates and incumbents running for re-election, and so we've been out stumping for them, helping raise money. And yesterday we were in Las Cruces raising money for Rochelle Ponder, and tonight I'll be back over there helping John Foreman raise money. So maybe get a chance to swing by a few election parties after that's over with, but it's a busy time.
Yeah. I think the only one gubernatorial candidate that sent out their agenda as if maybe I was invited was Rebecca Dow. No relation.
Yeah.
We cleared that up the other day. Her family's from California and mine's from Iowa, so
okay.
They're not related in any way. But the governor's race has been kind of interesting. For the most part, it's been fairly calm. There's been a little bit of, quite a bit of back and forth between a couple of the candidates. And you often wonder when that happens, what does that do for the party unity? What's the read that you get from talking to these different candidates about, everybody getting behind whoever the eventual winner might be tonight?
Well, I think it's only human nature that when you invest so much time, energy, effort into something that you feel heartstrong about, that when it gets right down to the nitty-gritty, emotions flare a little bit, maybe overcomes IQ at times, but it is an arduous process to run a statewide race. I take my hat off to all of them because they have worked their tails off, and I probably know Rebecca better than any of them just because we served together in the House. But every one of those candidates have they've tore the state up. They have been from Raton to Jowl not once, but a half a dozen times, and all the stops in between. So it is hard on the party, but it's part of the vetting process that our forefathers set forth. And for the most part, I think it works pretty darn good.
You get to find out a lot about the candidates. You get to find out some things maybe you didn't know about the candidates.
Absolutely.
That you've got to ask questions about or get clarification on, and we'll see how it goes. And in New Mexico, the Republicans have the contested race, the governor sitting back and not having to face a challenger in the primary. I was looking at a website, I think it was Ballotopia, and this kind of swings to the congressional races because this has been very confusing for a lot of people in this area. There's been some advertising and some direct mail pieces from a lady out of Santa Fe who is...
Alexis?
No, this is on the Democrat side.
On the Democrat side, okay.
Teresa
Ledger Fernandez,
who is talking about all the wonderful things that she has done as our independent congressional representative. And I'm reading this and I'm listening to this and I'm going, well, is she my representative right now? And apparently they're kind of putting out some awareness advertising because when the redistricting kicks in next year, and if nothing changes in November, she would be the representative. I wonder how many people are fully aware of in Artesia that right now our representative is Yvette Harrell.
Correct.
We're in District 2, but beginning with the seating of the next Congress, we will have changed districts and we'll be in District 3.
Yeah, and that's happening in congressional races and House races. I mean, we have Jimmy Mason running right now, same thing. That seat was held by Phelps Anderson. It was mostly Roswell East. Today, that seat, District 66, comes down into the eastern part of Artesia, down to into the northern part of Carlsbad, and then continues over into Lee County some. So it's it's changing times. I mean, redistricting is confusing, and it's confusing for us because, I mean, my district now, for example, goes to the other side of Alamogordo. I have Holloman Air Force Base and go up to Tularosa. I skip Mayhill and Cloudcroft and Pinon and all of those areas that have been in my district for years. So you just have to remember right now, I serve an area, but that area changes January 1. And January 1, I will be responsible for another area to represent. And it happens congressional districts and House and Senate districts as well.
So when you get your ballot, it may not look like the district that you remember that you're in, but you're voting for what will be when either the state Senate or the state House or the
That's right.
The House of Representatives are seated in the next term.
Yeah, and the congressional races, I mean, that has been such a mess. If you live in Hobbs, Carlsbad, Artesia, Roswell, your world changes a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't realize what was going on until they went and got their ballots. And my phone has run continuously saying, wait a minute, I've always voted for Jim. He's not on my ballot. Or what's this? Yvette's not on my ballot anymore. And then you say, well, that's redistricting. And they go, well, who did that? And then here we go again. So.
Yeah, and it's not like you hadn't been working on it, and the legislature hadn't been working on it, and then there was the committee that went around the state to work on it, and then it got passed. Now, has there been a legal challenge to these districts? Because to me, this is me personally, when you see the term gerrymandering, you could put a picture of New Mexico's congressional districts and go, this is what gerrymandering is.
That's when you say amen, right
amen.
there.
But what has there been a legal challenge to this, and where does that stand?
There has. Steve Pierce pretty much single-handedly had led an effort to challenge the congressional redistricting. After redistricting was over, a group of us, many of us, sat down and looked at all the redistricting. We not only looked at the redistricting from a registration point of view, but from a performance point of view. And we had attorneys look at each of the redistricting maps, and it was determined that the highest probability of success was challenging, and the quickest, was challenging the congressional map. So that has been challenged. It's been heard in court. The judge has ruled that he believes that should be heard. But because of the time, his ruling was, and this is Jim's cliff note, and I'm not an attorney, but what he ruled was that the election that we're currently in should proceed, that the case brought by the state party should be heard, and so we'll go through the election as it's currently configured. We'll hear the case. If the case is successful, then he or she, whatever the judge may be, will reprimand that that redistricting process back to the legislature for another redistricting. And so that's one of the reasons that the House races right now are so important, is because, as I believe we have a very good chance we'll have many more Republicans, possibly the majority in the House. And if they are the ones to hear that redistricting process, then the state, in my opinion, has a much better chance to have a fair redistricting going forward and not try to live through what we just did.
Yeah. Jim Townsend is with us. We're going to take a quick break and talk more. It is primary election day in New Mexico, and so we'll talk about why it's important to go out and vote, even though there may not be that many choices on your ballot when you do go vote. So we'll talk